All right, today is going to be one that's long overdue. Spaghetti sauce or pasta sauce or tomato sauce or whatever you want to call it. And this is going to be a fast, easy, simple sauce. So let me get started. All right, so last night or yesterday afternoon, I took some sausages out of the freezer to keep them in the fridge overnight to thaw out. That way they're easier to cook. And then I just put a little bit of water in the frying pan as usual, and I'm gonna steam them first, and I'll get them partially cooked, and then I'm gonna finish cooking them in the sauce to give the sauce more of a pork flavor. And in my opinion, I like pork flavored sauce. If you're gonna have meat in a sauce, pork to me is the best, whether it's sausages or short ribs, pork chops, any kind of pork, I think is, beef is okay, but I think pork is better. All right, so all I'm going to do here is just cut up some garlic. All right, so I had a shallot or shallot in the fridge, and I generally don't put onion in my just plain, real fast tomato sauce. Shallot is pretty good, but generally I don't use onion. A lot of people do. It's another one of those things, oh, this guy or somebody makes the best sauce in the world. And you see them with a pile of onions this big, a pile of bell peppers, which I hate, this big, and then fresh tomatoes like this. So, I mean, right off the bat, you know what it's going to taste like. It's going to taste like a sour tin can because the ingredients are crap. You make tomato sauce, you want tomatoes. And that's another thing that's kind of a fallacy, that you got to cook sauce for long periods of time. If I'm doing like pig's feet or something like that, where I need the acid in the tomatoes to break down the pig's feet or something like that, where, so that you could eat it, then I'll cook it for a pretty long time on really low. But generally speaking, if you're not using fresh tomatoes, then cooking it for a long time, all you end up with is a burnt tasting sauce, and it's absolutely terrible. So that whole thing where you got to cook sauce all day or it's no good, that's nonsense. And that's what we're going to do right now, is cook a sauce in nothing flat. So anyway, I got my garlic and I got some shallot there. And like I said, a lot of times I don't use onion. Sometimes I do, but most of the time I don't. And if I do, I'd prefer a shallot or a shallot. A little bit of olive oil. And chuck this stuff in. You could wait for the oil to heat up. You don't have to. And I chopped up that shallot really fine, so it's going to cook roughly the same speed as the garlic, and you don't want to burn it. So if you were cutting up big pieces of onion, then you would cook the onion before the garlic, so you don't burn the garlic. There's the sausages going. So I'll let them cook slow, uncovered for a minute, and I'll brown them. All right, so I'm going to add some tomato paste, and tomato paste will take the place of sugar if you don't want it a real acidic sauce. And I like to buy it in the tube instead of the can because I always make small batches of sauce. Sometimes I'll make a really big batch, but this in the tube will last virtually forever in the fridge. I mean, it just kind of never goes bad. And you just put some in there, mix it up. I'm not going to poke holes in my sausage because I want them to finish in the sauce. And the juice that comes out of the sausage, I don't want to leave in the pan. I want it in the sauce. I don't want a greasy sauce, but I want it to taste like pork. And I'm not putting meatballs or anything because I don't have any made, and I'm not going to make them now. Because again, this is a really quick sauce. And then in goes the tomatoes. So here's another thing. This brand tomatoes, Cento, is by far my favorite. In this country, America, unfortunately, I probably shouldn't say this, but I don't think I've had a real tomato probably since the 70s or maybe that earlier mid 80s. From the 90s forward, there is no such thing as real tomatoes. They're all genetically modified and they're all crap. And it's like eating a red ball of pulp. There's no flavor. In Italy, they're not allowed to do that. So the tomatoes are far superior. And then the other thing is, well, you know, fresh tomatoes make the best sauce. No, they don't. In the old days, the reason why, well, for me growing up, a lot of my aunts and stuff, they made tomato sauce out of fresh tomatoes is because we couldn't afford canned sauce. That was, you know, that was out of our league. Now, later on down the road, the prices came down and you could afford canned sauce. And that's what then, from that point forward, that's what everybody used. Especially once the tomatoes changed and everybody knew it. Everybody who made a good sauce, they could all tell that something changed with the tomatoes. And it's like I said, chemical companies own it. It's genetically modified and it's garbage. But in Italy, they don't allow that, and this is legit. So I'm a fan of this to make this as opposed to cooking down fresh tomatoes. And then a lot of people will say, well, you can get heirloom tomatoes. Where I live here, there's a lot of Mennonites, and north of me is a lot of Amish, and they supposedly have the best produce. I've had their tomatoes. They taste just like everybody else's. I don't know where they get their seeds. I don't know. And I'm not trying to criticize anybody, and I'm not living in the past. The tomatoes we get today are not the tomatoes we got 30 years ago. They're not. And this is far superior than any tomato you can buy in the supermarket to make a homemade sauce. And get back to my original point, that's why you would have to cook down a sauce all day, is because there's so much water in tomatoes, you had to get rid of all of that water to get a good thick sauce, where if you buy it in a can, that somebody already did it for you. So that's where that cooking tomato sauce takes all day. That's where that came from, and that's why people still think you have to do that, and you don't. And then there's a few, you know, like I said a minute ago, somebody makes the best sauce and they got a pile of onions and a pile of bell peppers. You know what it's going to taste like. It's going to taste like crap. You want it to taste like this. So your ingredients is pretty basic for just a simple sauce. There is a couple of things you can add, like you can take some carrots and run them through the food processor and then throw them in there, and that'll do the same thing almost like this will do, and all it does is sweeten it up a little bit, and it doesn't taste like carrots. So that I like to do if I find that it's too sour or too acidic. All right, so I just put a little bit of water in the can because I don't like to waste any of that in there. And I might have to add, these were crushed tomatoes. I might have to add an actual can of sauce, not crushed tomatoes, an actual sauce, because I want this sauce a little bit thinner than I usually make it, because I'm going to put it, I'm making, and a lot of times I like mushrooms in this too, but a buddy of mine who's coming over for lunch, he don't like mushrooms, so I'm not putting that in. So like I said, this is as fast a plain Jane quick sauce as you could do. But anyway, what I'm making it with is these, they call them Bucatinis on the box, but we always call them Perchellis. And I looked it up online, and both are correct, Perchellis or Bucatinis. And what these are is hollow, real fat, hollow spaghettis. And it's like the hardest one there is to eat, because you can't suck it up into your mouth because you get no vacuum because of the hole running the whole way. And when you try to eat them like you're eating ziti's or rigatonis or something, you can't because they're long. But they're one of my all-time favorite, and you can't get them around here, so I ordered them online. All right, let me run outside and grab some fresh basil. All right, I just rinsed that off. That's some nice fresh basil. And I normally would say if you don't grow or have fresh basil, then just use dry basil, but I don't like it. There's a lot of spices and herbs that I'll use dry. Basil isn't one of them. I don't like the flavor of it. Fresh basil, I could put in just about anything, but dried basil, I'm not a fan. I'd rather do without in the sauce. All right, this is pretty thick. I don't know if it's thick. So I'm going to add a can of sauce to thin it up a little bit. I could use water. The reason I wanted to thin that up is because of the type of pasta that I'm using. Like I said, they have a hole that go all the way down the middle, and I want sauce to be able to get absorbed into that. And if it's too thick of generally I like real thick sauce, but if it's too thick, then it's not real good on that particular kind of pasta. So you kind of make your sauce to go along with whatever kind of pasta you're making. And there's the sausages done, browned nicely. I know they're not cooked all the way through, but they will. I'm going to leave this on for a little while and they'll finish in the sauce. But you could finish these sausages in the pan and put them in the sauce. And there you go. There's tomato sauce done, ready to eat. And this will absolutely be better, not because I'm some great cook or something, but just because of what it is. This will be better than any of the chain brand or chain style restaurants where you would get, pasta dishes. I guarantee this is better. So if you give it a try, if you've ever been afraid of making tomato sauce because you listen to people, oh, I got to cook it all day and you got to have this ingredient, that ingredient, blah, blah, blah. No. All right, that's it. There's the sauce. Then I'll put the water on. I'll make the macaronis when my buddy comes. But the sauce is done. I mean, well, I didn't finish cooking the sausages. If I would have finished the sausages in the pan, this would be ready to go. So I don't have my watch on, but I mean, 15 minutes and you got 20 minutes and you got a really good sauce. And that's it. All right, I got the pasta done. The sauce is done. But what you want to do is put sauce on there to keep it from sticking. I haven't tasted it yet, but it smells really good. I haven't had these Perchellis in years. I'm really looking forward to it. I grated some Parmesan a couple of minutes ago. And a little bit of crushed red pepper, even though I put it in the sauce and I haven't tasted it. All right. There is that. It's excellent. It's like I said early in the video. Even a quick, simple sauce like this is way better than anything you can buy out of a jar or any of those chain restaurants. Trust me. If you've ever been afraid to make a pasta sauce, spaghetti sauce, just do it. Just follow along with what I did. It's super easy. And again, I did this one as a demonstration to show the easiest possible version of sauce. So, you know, if you want to comment and say, I do this, I do that, that's fine. That's cool. I like to read comments. But this is not an elaborate sauce. So no meatballs, no pig's feet, no short ribs, no pork chops, no nothing. Just sausages, because that's what I took out last night, put it in the fridge and thawed. And that's it. So it's as basic a sauce as you can get, but still better than any jarred sauce you can buy out of a supermarket. That I promise. So let's see the sausage, and the test of that is if you can cut it with the fork, like I just did. Let me do it again. Check this out. Remember early in the video, I said I wanted to finish the sausage in the sauce, and I don't poke holes when I cook sausage in the sauce when I finish it, and that's why. You see, I just cut it with my fork. Perfect. Fast, easy, cheap. It's good.